Good afternoon and welcome back to the channel. Today I thought we'd have a change from Patong. As some of you will know, I've been covering quite a few different places in Patong, but today we've come to an area that I covered 5 months ago and I said I would keep an eye on, and that is Surin Beach. And for those of you who saw that video, which was on my then main channel, my other channel, which is now food related, then you will remember that 5 months ago they cleared the beach of all the beach vendors, including the sunbeds, the parasols, the restaurants and everything else, and everybody was wondering how long this would actually last for. Every now and again the local government here will have a binge on clearing the beaches because the beaches are actually public areas and are not allowed to do commercial activity, i.e. the sale of goods, and the ones that are allowed need a permit to allow them to do that. And the problem that we have is a lot of them, first of all, don't have permission to be working on the beaches, and secondly, they sort of take over after a period of time. And this is what was happening here on Surin Beach. We're fast approaching high season when everybody expects the beach to have commercial activity. I'm glad to say today the sun is out and we've had a few nice days because of course the monsoons have been quite late coming this year. We're going to make our way down this way because this was for a very long time where a lot of the vendors had set up permanent structures. They were removed during COVID and then they sort of came back and put up what they classed as temporary structures because permanent structures are not allowed. You can already see there a guy selling coffee, which would be classed as commercial activity. And they then moved all the temporary structures away, saying that this beach needed to stay clear. Well, initially, you can see on the actual beach itself in front of me, I don't actually see any sunbeds, which I'll be honest with you, at the moment I'm quite surprised. However, you can already see that there are vendors here selling goods. So personally, I think it's only a matter of time before we start seeing the sunbeds. Now, up until quite recently, I've been popping down on and off because I don't live too far away from this area, so I can sort of pop in when I'm passing through to see what's going on. And up until last month, I guess, there wasn't these vendors here. I'll be honest with you, there was very little here at all. There was one or two, very small amount. But now we're approaching high season in November, you can see people are starting to come down here and set up. There's a sign over there and that clearly tells people what you can and can't do in this area. But again, the problem that we have is a lot of people take no notice of the rules. So let's take a look at what this sign says. Now, I don't read Thai. Let me see. Sunbeds there, coming back already. And you can clearly see the sign there. So no sunbeds, no massage, speedboats, all this has been put up by the government. And right in front of the sign. So clearly people not really paying attention. So it's only a matter of time, I think, before we see this beach being covered with parasols and sunbeds. And you're probably sitting there thinking, well, what's wrong with that? Well, there's nothing wrong with that, and I'm not against it. The problem that they have here is balance. This has always been the problem, because once people come here and start selling goods, whether it be drinks, whether it be sunbed hire, jet ski hire, it just gets more and more and more. And again, people will say, well, what's the problem? Well, the problem is, if you are coming to this beach as a tourist, this is a public beach, and you are entitled to sit and go wherever you like on this beach. But once the vendors come onto the beach with the restaurants and the parasols, that space becomes limited, because should you wish to be by those vendors, because, I don't know, maybe that's your favourite bit of the beach, and you're not paying the vendors for the sunbeds in that area, or the restaurant services, or the drink services, or whatever it may be that they're offering, they will move you along. And really they have no right to do that, because they shouldn't be there in the first place. You are allowed on the beach, but they aren't, because they are performing commercial activity. So even though that sign is there, you can see once again they're moving back in. Now this is only the second week in November, so high season is about to start in the next few weeks. In Patong they normally have the customary yearly opening of the beach area. There's a parade and there's a carnival, and they open the beach officially for high season, and that's maybe a week or two away. I'd normally go over there, and I shall be going over and taking a look at that for the channel. So obviously once high season is officially started, I mean, it's debatable when it actually starts. Some people could say it started now. You can see the beach is relatively busy. I wouldn't say it's packed, but there's definitely people here, that's for sure. But it's debatable. But officially, once that ceremony has taken place, then officially we're in high season. That's the way it works here on the island, and that's when you will see the majority of the beaches change, unfortunately, because that's when all the vendors move in. They want to sell because it's peak time. They want to hire sunbeds out to people, and I would say that's already happening now because they're all the same beds. So no, I'm okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Now, of course, a lot of people might think that I'm against this sort of activity. Maybe on this beach, because this has been designated as what they call a white beach. This is meant to be kept as close to the natural beach as possible. So there's actually, on this beach, there is no commercial activity officially allowed whatsoever. Now, I don't say that's right or wrong, but that's just the law. But as you can see, the laws are just ignored by a lot of people. Now, of course, I understand people need to make a living, and that's why I say I'm not against it. But it's all about that balance, and it's the balance that often gets forgotten about here in Phuket. Once the vendors are on here, they just take over. You know, one or two is not enough. They want 5 or 6, and when they've got 5 or 6, they want 15 or 20, and that is the problem. The balance just keeps going more and more that way, and we've seen this in Qatar. We've seen it on the beach there. I mean, Qatar is literally, the last time I was over there, there's not hardly any beach left. There are so many sunbeds, or were, and again the local officials were going to sort it out and clamp down, but no word has been mentioned. And I just feel that you just don't need that amount of sunbeds on that beach anyway, and it spoils the beach. And Qatar was always a favourite area of mine, but now it's not, I'll be honest with you, because there is no real controls over the vendors, the people that are selling goods on the beach. They pester people all the time. I understand people want somewhere local to have a drink and something to eat. Of course we all do, but as I've said, the trouble here is enforcing a balance, and people become greedy. They just take over, and they have no interest in the tourist whatsoever. The only interest they have is money, which they get from the tourists. So the more they can cram in, the happier they are. But if you are looking for a more relaxing holiday, then it's not so good for you. As the tourist, you lose out. You have to pay for the privilege, and you get crammed onto a beach that's just overwhelmed. And it's a little bit of a shame, really, because you can see yourself, Surin is a beautiful beach indeed. You do have to be careful at this time of year, October, November, about undercurrents, but that goes for all the beaches here in Phuket, or the main beaches, the main tourist beaches on this west side of the island. All the beaches are known to have problems with undercurrents, and people should be aware. If they follow my channel, I try to make it obvious about undercurrents and the amount of people that lose their lives every year here on the island because of drowning, because they take no notice of the warning signs, which are the flags. They ignore the lifeguards, and they think they know best. And we have this year seen a lot of drownings. In fact, just a few weeks ago, 5 people within 1 week drowned and lost their lives. 5 people, can you believe that? So that's quite a staggering number, and it's happening all the time, unfortunately. People are willing to risk their life for a 5-minute swim. I think it's crazy, but I'm not that person, so there you go. I can only warn people. If they want to do what they want to do and think they know best, then that's up to them. But as you can see at the moment, I was going to say there aren't any sunbeds, but I can actually see over there in the distance, I don't know whether you can make that out, the parasols. So it looks like they've started already on the beach. I hadn't noticed that earlier. We're going to be walking down this way, so we'll have a look. But let's take in the beach area. There's quite a few people here. Surin's a lovely area. It's only a small town, but of course if you're staying here in Surin and you decide to stay in this area, you have got the benefit of Bantao, which is only 3 or 4 minutes away from this area. It's not very far at all, Bantao, and that offers again a lot more facilities in the way of restaurants and a lovely beach. And then you've got a little bit further along the road Chuntalay, which is good for shopping and nightlife. And then going the other way, of course, you've got the Kamilar beach. So, you know, not only have you got this beach, you've got those other beaches to pick from. So this is a nice area for families. Definitely, if you want to be outside the main area of Patong, you don't fancy being in that area, then Surin has to be a good choice because of where it's positioned. And as you can see, the beach is lovely. So once again, I'd like to hear some comments down below. Leave them, see what your thoughts are about these beaches here. Do you think that they are over commercialised? Do you think the local government should be doing more to enforce the laws? Because the laws are there, you've seen it yourself, the sign, but you also can see that most people are, shall we say, above the law, or think they are, because they just do what they want. And I don't see anybody enforcing the regulations, and this is the same cycle every year. We see in high season the beach is packed, and then they come along and clear it after high season. So initially I was a little bit surprised when I walked onto the beach just here, because I couldn't see any sunbeds, but there you go. In front you can see now probably a little bit clearer that they are now back on the beach. See a couple of red flags by this outlet here. It's probably best to be avoided. A lot of the beaches here in Phuket have these storm drain outlets, and of course that the storm drain system. Oi, oi, hello mate, I hope he's nice, he ain't gonna bite. You've got to be careful of these soy dogs, but he seems friendly enough. Nobody fish in there. I wonder if he's going to catch anything. Oh yes, he's got something. There you go, on the beach. Not massive, but reasonable size. Little fish. Maybe a little bit of supper later for him. But as I was saying about the storm drains, they are common on most of the beaches here in Phuket, and it's for the storm drain system when we have the monsoon rains like we've seen over the last few weeks. And this is a big problem with the flooding, the localized flooding, because when the tide is high the water has nowhere to go, and this is what causes the flooding. So not an ideal system really. I would have thought that they would have had these drains draining into the reservoirs rather than back into the sea. Maybe they do. I'm not an expert on the drainage system of the island, but I did speak to somebody some years ago, and he mentioned that they hadn't got enough going back towards the reservoirs. Of course, the reservoirs help to feed the island with water during the dry months, the high season, if you want to call it that, and when all the tourists are here and all the hotels and all the development that's going on. We need more water than what we actually have, and there is a plan that was supposed to be taking place some time ago with a pipe system coming from down from Phang Nga onto the island. I don't know what's happened with that. I haven't really seen anything in the local media regarding that, but definitely the reservoirs do struggle when we get a long, hot, dry season. Let's hope this dry weather carries on. We've got a bit of a spell. Last 3 days, 4 days, it's been reasonably dry. It's just been raining at night time. Sort of 9 p.m. onwards, we normally get a thunderstorm, heavy downpours, lasting anywhere from a few minutes up to a couple of hours. Okay, so There's a snapshot of Surin Beach. We're in mid-November. Let's see what happens in a couple of months' time as we go into December and January. Let's take another look. 2 months' time, we'll be back here and see how much of the beach is left for public use.